Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully, you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So, apparently, we might have some big news tonight. It seems that the Mets are talking to the Brewers and in serious conversations for their ace, Freddy Peralta. Mets have been very busy over the last few days, last week, really. And there is a good chance, and John Heyman put it out, the Scott Boras whisperer, saying that there might be some movement tonight on this deal. And this deal might include Brandon Sproat and Jett Williams, top prospects in the Mets system, and of course, and another player going to the Mets side. And that's Tobias Meyer. What the hell's his name? The hell's his name? Uh, the hell's his name? Toby, son of a bitch. Oh, we got a super chat. This is from Gabe, the Bronx legend. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's go, Dave Stearns. I still think Framber will be a Met too. Well, we'll see. I don't believe that. I think it'll be. He has a qualifying offer on him. Tobias McGuire's the other, but he has a qualifying offer, and I don't think they want to do that a second time with the player this offseason. They already given up 2 draft picks for Bo, so I don't think they're going to go down that avenue. But Tobias Myers is the other pitcher, the other player that be coming in this deal. And he's had a very interesting young career here. In 2024, he was 9-6 with a 3.00 ERA, 138 innings with 127 strikeouts, 36 walks. That's pretty good. But I guess he was hurt last year. He only pitched in six. He only had 6 starts in 22 games. Hello, Cosmo Carbone, 5486. So we're gonna wait on this a little bit. I can't stay up until I'm not gonna be up all night. Hopefully, this is not a Garden State Gardener. You know, who said it today on WFAN that the Met fans are too damn emotional? This is ridiculous. He isn't even here yet, and you're complaining about his arm. Relax yourself. I mean, really. You're a great sub, but come on. You can't be nervous, Nelly, already. And they haven't even gotten him yet. God. If he fails the physical, I'm not even going to address it. The hell with that. Hello, Garden State Gardener. How you doing? The hell with that. Yeah, so this will be something that could happen tonight. Now she's texting me. What the hell she wanted? My lady friend always texts me at the most inopportune times. I would mention I have plenty of videos. I did a video reaction of the trade from last night, late last night. Late last night, your host was sleeping out, passed out around 11 o'clock when this trade of Robert Jr. came down. And I saw it around 1:30 in the morning. I got up to use the facilities here at the hut. Had to go to the outhouse. No, there's no outhouse here. But I had to go and use the facilities here, bathroom here. And I checked my phone. And I realized I did not charge the phone, had to be charged. And I saw that the Mets made that trade. I am not a fan of it. If you watched my video a little while ago, I told you what I thought. I'm very concerned just to his attitude, really. And I didn't even mention the money. I mean, $20 million for 1 year. And Gabe, the Bronx legend, said they said SNY reporters got called into work. Okay. And again, from Gabe, the Bronx legend. Let's soak it in. Again, he's great. I wish McGill would come to. Well, let's see. Mike 9965 says would still love to acquire more bullpen rotational help, even if this comes to fruition. Be nice to somehow snag Trevor McGill too? Well, I don't think so. I mean, if they get Toby McGuire, Tobias Meyer in that deal along with Peralta, that's pretty good. I mean, you're picking up two starters for two young players, and it'd be interesting to see if they were to be able to um, um, see if they have to give up more. Be interesting if there's a third player involved that would be going back to uh, Milwaukee. I had said that was a pretty good chance this trade. I've been talking a lot about the Freddy Peralta over the last couple of days, sort of that the Mets had the inside track just based on the fact that there's a relationship there. And the first trade the Mets made with Stearns as the general manager was for Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor. Now you're going to say, how do we want to be the Milwaukee Brewers? Well, last time I checked, they won 97 games last year. And they've been winning a lot of games over the last 10 years. I'll take my chances with being the Milwaukee Mets at this point. How many appearances have the Mets made over the last 10 years in the postseason? 2? 3? Thank you. Gabe, the Bronx legend, says, if we got Luis Jr. and Freddie Peralta and kept Tong, McLean, and Bench, I will say David Stearns deserves apologies from the early season's cry. I mean, the problem is, Gabe, is that people don't need enough. It's like you got to take it. It's like watching these games. It's 162 games, and to see people constantly complaining after all these games, it's just, and people complaining about exhibition games and March. Oh, the Mets lost their first game. It's a bad season. It's just a roller coaster. I mean, it's gotten to be a bit much. And I don't remember being this bad 5 years ago when the Mets were sold to Steve Cohen. And the idea that a lot of the fans are turning on him is disgusting. Because all these people did is complain about the well ponds. They finally got the well ponds out of here, and a good owner, and they complain about it now. Just checking my feed. Nothing new yet. Hopefully, we'll have results soon. Results. This is like waiting for the polls to close. But I think it's a good shot tonight. They said this is a good shot that's going to happen tonight. Peralta is an ace. I don't know if he's like a 1A or a 2, but he's certainly better. He's certainly better than what they have right now. And this team needs a number one starter in the worst way, and it takes a lot of pressure off of McLean. McLean is at the top. Of these prospect lists. I did a video for the prospect hut and Carson and Nolan McLean. I think he's eighth. He's the 8th best prospect in baseball. He's the best right-handed pitching prospect in baseball too. MLB.com is saying that. This is just so there's a lot of pressure on him. If they were to bring Peralta in, it would make a big difference just to take the pressure off. Would take the pressure off of him. And I hope they make this deal tonight. I don't think Framber Valdez is a viable option just based on the fact that he has a qualifying offer on him. And I don't think they want to do that with a pitcher. I don't think they have a problem with Bo. Because Bo's an elite player. When he's healthy, he's elite. Can you behold Baseball Hut, the king of Mets YouTube? Well, the king has holes in his socks. No, I don't, but compared to some other channels. At some point, I'm going to have to get like a tin cup with some of these videos, man. Tin cup and a string to get the microphone going. This is pretty good, Mike. But thank you. I appreciate it. I do my best. And again, everyone's saying the same things about Luis Robert Jr. Right? I'll say this again. I don't care about the players. If I don't think a player is good, I'll tell you. If I think a player is good, I'll tell you. Right? Now, I've not seen him on an everyday basis, but just reputationally, some of the things I've seen, because he's been rumored for a long time to be going to the Mets. So once a player is rumored for a long time, I start to pay attention to the player. Over the last 2 years, he said 228, 227, something like that. Uh, his 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 OPS plus has been 86 and 85, which means he's 14% worse and 15% worse than the average major league offensively. Aside from 2023, he usually hits 15 home runs to 50 RBIs. Okay. Now that is better than what they've gotten out of center field. They've got nothing out of center field. So that is an improvement. That is a marked improvement from where we're from last year. But he tends to dog it. And I said that in the video. He's dog. You know, I mean, the sense of urgency isn't there. I don't know if it's because he's been in a bad situation there and with the White Sox. Uh, but you won't see that kind of bad effort from Luis Angel Acuna. Now, Acuna has issues in that he has zero pop. I've been following him since the Mets picked him up from the Rangers. He gets on base just enough. He hits just enough. Everything this guy does is elite, except that he's got no slugging percentage. None. It's none. Let's see. Yeah, so this trade would be very interesting. Sorry to just checking a couple things, but um, Cunha has everything going for him. He has everything his brother has except for pop. He's got no ability to hit the ball, even for doubles, even for triples. And like I said, been following him in the minor leagues. Last year, his OPS was under 700. 700 is considered like average for an average major leaguer. Okay, but it was below 700 most of the season, like 680s, 690s. And I started digging through the numbers. His on base percentage is pretty good. It's okay, like 32%, 33%. That's not too bad. But his slugging percentage is the same. It's basically about 340, 350. He gets on base, he gets his hits, but there's no doubles. There's no ability to hit it for a triple. So that means he's not hitting a lot of line drives, a lot of balls on the ground. He's hit too many balls on the ground. And I don't care what he's doing, what he's been doing in the Winter League. That doesn't mean anything. So that's to me is a major problem. As a star, I mean, he could have been a star if he had that ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he just doesn't have it. Now he'll get a chance to play with the White Sox. Now they'll play him pretty much every day, just to see what he has. I think he'd be an everyday player on a bad team. On a good team, he could be a role player. And Truman Pauly, who they sent in that deal, he was the Mets' 12th round pick in 2025, excuse me, this past year. And he is a player that, quite frankly, who knows? And he's going to be a middle reliever if he gets in the majors. Now, of course, please hit the like button for this live stream. And, of course, if you're watching for the first time, subscribe. And thank you again. Gabe, the Bronx Legend, I remember you being here, but thank you. You get the bell. I always get the bell when I get a super chat or a super thanks. I always make sure that I acknowledge everybody. I do my best with that. I know some channels don't do that. I do that. What a great setup, a bell for a hotel. It's a hotel, for God's sake. But anyway, yeah, so we're just waiting this out a little bit. I'm not going to be on too late. If the trade happens after the live stream is over, then and then your host will just go to bed. Nate Jett says, is there a rumored package for Peralta? Yes. At least 4 players are involved in this trade so far. The Mets would be sending Jett Williams, who's the Mets' second best positional prospect, and he's been the Mets' best prospect for a long time. Was a middle infielder, and he's an outfielder. He's going to be an everyday player. He's a very good player. And Brandon Sproat, who we saw last year. Now, Sproat can be either a starter or he could be a reliever, particularly a closer. So that's what the Mets will be sending. I don't know if there's a third player involved going to the Brewers. The Mets would be getting Freddy Peralta and Tobias Meyer in that deal. Okay. Um, Tobias Myers. And 2 years ago, he was 9-6. He had a good year with the Brewers. I guess he was hurt last year, but he's a very good, he's a very good pitcher. He has to stay healthy, but he's a starter. Chris Silva says Jett is going to be a beast. He's like Trey Turner. When before he got drafted, he was compared to Mookie Betts. That's who he was compared to. Um, a smallish guy who's got power, can play multiple positions, can run like the wind. So he's going to be a very good everyday player. Gabe, the Bronx legend, says, I wish the Mets signed Suarez to DH, but then Vientos won't be here if that happens. Suarez is up there in age. I think he's going to go to the Pirates. Hold on, I need to drink. Look. Yeah, I think Suarez is going to go to the Pirates because that's what all the talk has been about. Let me read some of these statistics. Let me just go through these statistics on Myers a little bit because he's the player that's new. He was 9-6 in 2024 to 2.7 WAR, ERA of 3. In 138 innings pitched, he gave 126 hits, 18 home runs. It's a little high. 36 walks. That's pretty good. 2.3 walks per 9 innings, and strikeouts 127 strikeouts for 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he is a guy that is a surprise name that's popped up in this. So the Mets will be getting quite a bit in return, not just Peralta. So that sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, Stearns knows what he's doing. I thought about this and I sort of mentioned it. Is that the 2024 Mets, as good as a story as it was, I think it put this team behind what he wanted to do with this club. And once this team fell apart and basically showed their guts, showed how gutless they were as a group, and 2025, he basically went to the owner and said, "Look, I can't keep this group. Let Pete walk." I think they were the one player that they were disappointed that didn't come back was Diaz. I think that's the one player that they were hoping that they wouldn't have lost. But he went for more money. He just wanted more money. At the end of the day, players don't give a shit. They just want more money. They don't care. But once he went to Steve Cohen and said, "Look, I want to move some of these, just let these guys walk and get rid of these players." I don't think there was an issue. From James Nenny, 5948. If this trade happens, do you see any more big moves, or are they set? Well, according to Stearns, they weren't really set. I mean, they said they're going to keep looking to improve. But they did say that they wanted to, in terms of the positional players, I think they're pretty much set. I think a lot depends on the Mets' younger players, and that are going to be getting a long look. Because we had the World Baseball Classic this year coming up, all these young players are going to get a chance to play. Carson Bench is going to get a lot of looks. He's got a shot to make the team. Nick Morabito, who's on the 40-man roster, he's going to get a shot to be on this roster. Okay, if they decide to move on from, say, Starlin Marte, Nick Morabito could be the guy on that bench. He can hit. He just doesn't have any power, and he's got great speed, and he can play defense. But Bench is the number one guy, so I don't really see any big moves. Maybe they go and look at Yandy Diaz to play first, but the Mets have so many infielders, that are on this roster that you have to sort of figure out who's going to play where, and so I don't think there'll be any big moves. Let's see if this move happens. If this move happens, that's a big deal. And they get two pitchers in this. This is not just one pitcher. They get two starters out of this, which is incredible for them to do. But then again, the Mets are giving up a lot. I don't want to give up Joe Williams. I really don't. Now, he's been in the organization quite a few years. I've been following his career since they drafted him. So I really don't see the Mets. What's this? We got to trade. We got to trade. Jeff Passan. New York Mets have acquired all-star right-hander Freddy Peralta in a trade with Milwaukee Brewers. Sources tell ESPN the deal is done. Top prospects Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat are headed to Milwaukee. One more big league pitcher will head to the Mets. So I'm assuming Tobias Myers is going to be in that move. Wow, that's a big trade. That's a big trade for the Mets. So that's a 2-for-2 trade, folks. 2-for-2. Let's get Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers, and the Mets trade Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat. Wow, that's a good trade for the Mets, boy. That's a great trade. Because we were talking all offseason that the Mets needed to get 2 pitchers. Mets needed to get 2 pitchers to fill out this rotation. This is a good move. I mean, this is a great move for the Mets. A big move. This really puts them back in business. We talked a lot about these position moves and stuff. But this is a big move for our Mets, boy. Let me just change the title of this video. Now, please, of course, in the meanwhile, like this video and, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I was on long before I guess anybody else talking about this Mets possible trade. And this is a big move. Big move. Let's get Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers for Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat. I hate giving up Jett Williams. But to get 2 pitchers. To get 2 pitchers in this move is awesome. So I'm happy because the Mets needed to make a move here. Needed to improve this pitching in the worst way. I think we all know that. And they've done that finally. So they're back in business. So everyone complaining all off season, they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that. They're back in business now. It took them a while to get this going. But here we are. Here we are back in business. So we have a trade. The Mets have picked up Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers in a major trade tonight for Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat. Like I said, I hate giving up Jett Williams. I hate giving it up. But it is what it is. The Mets need to make this trade. Mets need another starter in this rotation. And now they have 2 starters in this rotation. So this is a massive deal. A massive deal for the Mets. A massive deal. Because this rotation was a mess. And I would think that the jealous ones always come out and always want to cause trouble. But I, as your host, as your humble host, this is not the Wild West. This isn't Wordy drowning you with his words and letting you say whatever the hell you want to say. Gabe the Bronx Legend says, I think Acuna will be better than Jett. It's a great move, and now Peterson will be traded. Don't be shocked. We get a closer or a top setup man. There's a possibility that David Peterson could get traded. That I agree with you, Gabe. But I don't agree with you on Acuna and Jett Williams. I think Jett Williams has a chance to be a star. And he's going to do really well in Milwaukee. They're going to love him in Milwaukee. Because he's got elite on-base skills. In 2023, he led the Mets minor leagues in walks. 100 walks. It was the first time since 2001, or 2002, when David Wright led the league in walks in the minor leagues for the Mets. Of 100 walks. So that's a very unusual statistic. As the Mets' potential rotation is pretty good now. Freddy Peralta, Nolan McLean, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Shoman Nyakode, Senga. Well, I think Senga could get moved now because they brought in a second starter in this move. Uh, uh, then he could be moved too. But David Peterson certainly has a chance to get moved because of the fact that he's got 1 year left on his contract. Uh, well, I'm not going to argue about injury prone or whatever, Gabe. But we'll find out. That all this has been. Mets had so many middle infielders. The problem with Acuna and Jett Williams, they're not big guys. They're little guys, so that hurts them. Just based on that, this is such a great trade. I'm so happy. This is a great trade for us Mets fans. Let me just read a couple comments to X. Michael Marino's got a pretty good account. Freddy Peralta gives the Mets a much needed top of the rotation starter, a pitcher with playoff experience coming off arguably his best season of his career. You wonder if the Mets explore an extension with Peralta. Well, we'll see. Such a good trade. From Joel Sherman, was told the other day that the model the Brewers were looking at for Peralta was similar to Burns, top 100 prospect infield and starting pitcher. This time, Williams and Sproat with added benefit of optional arm coming to Mets and Myers. The Mets getting another player in this is just wild. Jeff Passan, within the last week, the Mets have added the frontline starter they needed, the big bat they needed, and the center field they needed. Off seasons are long. A slow November and December does not preclude a monster January. That's exactly what the Mets have unleashed. Absolutely. Everybody complaining, bitching and moaning. Not your host, though. I was complaining about the old team. You know. Gabe, the Bronx legend, said Stearns did great on both trades. Well, I mean, they improved. I mean, they did improve the power in center field. Got to see if he plays every day. So, he tends to get hurt a lot, too. But it's interesting. I was thinking about this today. Thinking about Robert Jr. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the Mets will platoon him and Benj in center field at some point. And maybe they'll bring in another outfielder. There was talk of Austin Hayes. So keep an eye on Austin Hayes as another move the Mets could make because there was a lot of talk about that yesterday before they made the trade. Before they made the trade last night. So keep an eye on him. It's funny how they lost Kyle Tucker on Thursday, and Steve Cohen got pissed off. When Steve Cohen gets mad about some kind of move that didn't happen in the Mets' favor, he always lets it be known. And then once that happens, like a domino effect, like all this stuff gets wiped out. And we got Bo Bichette, which was a shock to everybody, including myself. I was completely shocked by that move. Then we get Luis Robert Jr. last night, which wasn't a surprise. That had been talked about for 2 years. But 2 years. And now this trade, this is a massive trade. This is a big trade for the Mets. This is really gonna settle this stuff down. And the fact that they got a second starter out of this, and a guy they could probably put in the bullpen if they have to. Bravo. I wasn't concerned about where the Mets were going. Everybody else was concerned about where this club was going. I wasn't, because this guy has done it before. It's just not. People keep calling him a boy. A wonder boy. Calling him Wonder Boy. This is Dave Stearns. Calling insulting, terrible things they were saying about him. Just terrible things they were saying about that guy. A 40-year-old man, you calling him a boy, or this idiot Joe Beningo. Calling him a Wonder Boy. Yeah, so this is a massive trade. They're doing breaking news on SNY. They don't want to watch the girls college basketball. Oh, great! Eamon McEnany and John Jastrzemski, who screams. This guy screams about everything. Chris Hill says Freddie has just this year remaining on his contract. We need to sign him as soon as possible, so he's not thinking about his money all year. No. Let's see how well he does here. This is not New York is not for the faint of heart. Okay, let's not do a uh, Francisco Lindor mistake. You sign him and then he starts giving the thumbs down. But yeah, so SNY is doing a breaking news. Mets acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Maguire. Tobias Maguire. Tobias Myers. Am I going to call him Toby Maguire all year? And Mets gave up Jett Williams. Like I said, I hate giving up Jett Williams. Brandon Sproat could be a closer. He could be a number 3 starter, 4 starter, or he could be a closer. They didn't give up Jonah Tong in this deal. Earlier today, there was a lot of talk that they said they told him that they're not going to do that. Measy BX says that Cloud Beningles say even though they might win that because Alonso is gone, you still hate Stearns. That guy is crazy. I don't know if he has was autistic or something, but that guy he's got some problems. I don't know if it's an actor. He's got problems. Richard Zucker says Mania still has the formed bodies in his elbow. Well, that's not good. He's got to get some. He's got to get some immigration. He's got to get ice in there to get those foreigners out of his body, out of his elbow. What? Yeah. So this is a great trade for the Mets. I mean, they gave up big prospects in this deal, top 100 prospects with Jett Williams. But the Mets have such a deep farm system, folks, and have so many middle infielders. AJ Ewan's a middle infielder, who's a top prospect now. Just a big trade. This is a great trade for the Mets. They needed this and they got it and they got more. This is crazy. We go through the Mets farm system real quick. Now, please, of course, subscribe to Baseball Hut and like this video. I think I was like the first to come on for anybody else. So I just had this feeling. When you get a feeling? I felt the tremor in the force. Mets 973 says, "What's going on, Hut? Crazy trade, but we got our ace to pair with McLean. Also, still believe in Senga to bounce back. No, Senga can bounce back and be a top starter. But the problem with him is that he has to be completely healthy to be effective. Richard Zucker says their offense is going to be much better than last year. I think they'll be better with men in scoring position, and that's really the most important thing. That's the most important thing, to be honest with you, more than anything else. And let me just go through the Mets farm system a little bit. Now we've had a major upheaval in the farm. So Jett Williams was currently the Mets' number 3 was the former 3rd best prospect according to MLB.com, and Brand Sproat was the Mets' 5th best prospect. So now they're off the boards. Okay, they're off the board. We'll have this is why I haven't done like a top 30 prospects, because I was thinking that they were probably going to move some of these guys. Now keep in mind that Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat were guys that Billy Epler had drafted. So right now the Mets' best infield prospect is Jacob Reamer, who is now considered, according to MLB.com, the second best third base prospect in baseball. So that is interesting, and he could make his debut this year. So that's an interesting thing. So if the Mets were to lose out on Bo Bichette next year, they could put Reamer in there. But that's down the road. Gabe, the Bronx legend, says, I think Alvarez and Robert combined for over 40 homers in the 7 and 8 spots. Let's calm down. Okay. I'm very disappointed in Francisco Alvarez's offense right now. Let's calm down. The reason they brought in some of these other players is to take pressure off of them, pressure off of him in particular. This is Alvarez. Todd Lacoste says, I still think they could use a cleanup hitter. Well, they're not getting one now. I don't see any player that's going to be that. Baseball's different than how it used to be. The classic Pete Alonso cleanup hitter is just not in the game like it used to be. I mean, if you really wanted to be, more into it, well, it doesn't matter. Well, anyway, this is what the Mets additions are this offseason. Bo Bichette, Freddy Peralta, Marcus Semien, Luis Robert Jr., Jorge Polanco, Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Tobias Myers, and Luis Garcia. The subtractions for this offseason is Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Tyler Rogers, Cedric Mullins, boo, he sucked. He's terrible. Ryan Helsley, boo, killed the Mets season. Gregory Soto, Ryan Stanek, boo, ruined the Mets season too. Ryan Stanek. Where'd he go? The Cardinals? Terrible. It was terrible. But, I'm pretty happy tonight, and I think you're all pretty happy too. So we're going to have a very interesting couple weeks now. We'll see if they do anything else. If they do anything else, keep an eye. Maybe Austin Hayes, maybe. They could use another bat in this lineup, another right-handed bat, I think. The lights down says, I'm looking for a Lindor trade sometime during the season. I don't think that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. No, I don't think that's happening. That's not happening, Gabe. I mean, that's not happening. Lindor's not getting moved. They can't move now. It wouldn't make sense to move him. I know I talked about him getting traded, but that's not happening. All right, Todd Licata, one of my great old subscribers. What's Maya's role on the team? I don't know. He could be a starter on this rotation. Once this deal is official and the media starts to talk to Stearns, we'll find out. I'm going to think that he's probably going to be a starter here because he was a starter 2 years ago. But the fact that Mets getting another player in this deal, and he's not a free agent. He's got like 4 more years on his contract. Now, please like this video and hit the subscribe button. I tell you what's interesting is the Cubs, who had a very good offseason. I wonder how they look at this trade. Like Wayne Randazzo put this out. I'm thinking about it. The Brewers just shrugged this stuff. They just shrugged this stuff off. When it comes to these kind of moves. I mean, Corbin Burns, they traded Corbin Burns. It didn't seem to affect them. They still won the division, and they won the division the next year. Mets 973 says Myers was a starter in 24, but a reliever last season in 25. Well, we'll see. But like I said, the fact they got a second player out of this deal, I mean, you would have thought that it would have been like a 2-for-1 deal or 3-for-1 deal. That's what I was thinking. But they got 2 top 100 prospects for Peralta. And then the Mets get another starter in this? Absolutely crazy. So, an exciting couple of days, exciting week. I was saying that we were going to see a lot of action in January. We've gotten a lot of action. We're getting a lot of action here in New York. If you don't know, we're going to get a bad storm here on the weekend. But yeah, so the Mets have acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers. I know I'm going to say Toby McGuire. I know it. I know it. And they trade Jett Williams and Brand Sproat. Um, Jett Williams is going to be an everyday player. They're going to love him there in Milwaukee. He's going to have very good seasons there. And we'll see about Sproat. Sproat could be a closer there. When Trevor McGill's up for free agency, they'll trade him. They'll put Sproat in as the as what they're going to do. Now, of course, hit the like button and subscribe to Baseball Hut. We were on, I think, before anybody else was. I'm sure there's other people on. I don't care. I do my own thing here. But this is a massive trade for the Mets. It's a trade that had to be made. And like I said a little while ago, I think 2024 really hurt the organization. I think in the short run because Stearns was kind of hamstrung. He couldn't just move on from say Pete Alonso, who hit that home run against the Brewers last year or a year and a half ago. He had to sort of hold on to some of these players that he didn't really want to hold on to because they won the wild card. They were 2 wins away from the World Series. So out of obligation, he had to hold on to some of these players. So I think that kind of hamstrung him what he wanted to do. Now this past year, he went in, but he didn't move. What's interesting is this is really the first big trade tonight for any big prospects the Mets had. They moved some players at the deadline, but Jesus Baez is not going to be he might be a major league player, but he's probably not going to be an everyday player with the Cardinals. But this Jett Williams is going to be an everyday player. This was a big trade. He gave up some pretty big pieces for Peralta. Mets 973. What are your thoughts about the Robert trade? You didn't watch my video earlier, man? I ripped into it. Not because they gave up a lot. They didn't really give up a lot. And I know they improved the production in center field. They went from no production to center field to a guy that hit 15 home runs. But he's only had one big year. And I said in the video that Mets don't have Tony La Russa as the manager. Okay, when you have Tony La Russa as your manager, your production is going to go through the roof. And and I was very and I don't like the attitude. I think the attitude, he loves it. So those are my concerns about that move. Richard Zucker says he has potential to change of scenery type trade. If you have to the change of scenery with him is that they were bad. I want to see a player that's in a bad situation playing well. Okay. Now, if you have a good player that's in a bad situation in terms of just the clubhouse, he's not getting along with anybody. That's one thing. But when you have a player that is in a bad situation and he's not playing well, and he's doing very strange things that's not winning baseball games, that's concerning to me. And Chicago with the White Sox is not. There's no pressure in Chicago anyway when it comes to the baseball teams. The Cubs can do no wrong, and not too many of the fans there got too worked up about the White Sox. Mets 973 said, I usually watch all your videos, but our Mets have been making so many moves. That's difficult to keep up. That is true. It's difficult for me to keep up, just in general. All the stuff I got going on YouTube and on Facebook. And how I do it. But the trade tonight, it really puts the Mets back in a better position. And they might be a better they're a better rotation this year going into the season than they were last year. Last year, they didn't have a top pitcher there. And now they do. And what's interesting about Peralta is not making a lot of money. You sure about that? Ask, do you see the Pirates improve? Now, it's funny you should mention that. You sure about that? You sure about that? That's all we've been talking about tonight. You got to watch the replay. Like the first 45 minutes of the live stream was talking about the Pirates. They're a little bit better. I mean, they improved their offense. I mean, I would think that they'll probably sign Eugenio Suarez. That's probably the next move they'll make. That's really the next move. Uh, I'm just joking, of course. I'm not talking about the Pirates here, man. Yeah, but the Pirates will be better. I mean, they're going to be a better team this year. Okay, or they have to be, because this is the last year before arbitration for Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens is going to have this 1 year, and the next year is going to be on arbitration eligible, meaning that they're going to be doing all kinds of. It's going to be all kinds of talks about it, a massive contract, but they're going to move him, and they're going to get stuck having to give him like a massive amount of money in arbitration. You know, so, but massive trade for the Mets. It's funny. I follow Ballcap Sports. He's a nice guy, but he did a video earlier today about Cody Bellinger. And he says, and in the title, trolling the Mets. Well, who's getting trolled now, there, Jim? Who's getting trolled now? Who's getting trolled now, Jim? Mets picked up one of the best pitchers in baseball, and they gave up a lot, but they got a lot back. That's the amazing thing about it. That's what I'm blown away by. So his nickname, I guess his nickname's Fastball Freddy. But again, please, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and thanks for coming on. I mean, I wasn't really preparing to do a live stream tonight, but this trade has been a big deal. This is a big, big trade. We had super chat. This is great. More money for the new computer coming, or potentially coming, and but most importantly, the Mets. Where we're at with the Mets. Mets now have a big pitcher at the top of this rotation. I'm going to say something. I've seen Will Salmon. He's doing a great job, but man, that sucks. That haircut sucks. I don't know what's up with that haircut. That's a very strange haircut. Man. But anyway, yeah. So I don't expect that too many bigger moves now. Austin Hayes is a guy to keep an eye on, because maybe they sign him. There's still a lot of clutter with this team. There is still a lot of clutter with this team. A lot of infielders on this club. Mark Vientos is still here. Brett Beatty is here. Polanco is here. Obviously they signed him to that 2-year deal. There's a lot going on here. They still have a lot of sort of, odd pieces here that don't exactly fit. I mean, how much playing time is Mark Vientos going to get? If Polanco's playing some at first and some as a DH, and Brett Beatty's playing first and playing a little bit of second and a little bit in the outfield and a little bit of third, where's Mark Vientos' role here? And again, I sort of mentioned this, in other videos and live streams. Mark Vientos' year killed the Mets. Him in particular, because he had such a big year in 2024, and to basically just basically have a sophomore jinx, and being a little full of himself, it'll be interesting to see if he's still here, what he's able to do, because the production was not great last year, and his attitude at times, it was emotional. It was a little bit much. Him getting into an argument with an umpire late in the season. So this team still needs some things to sort of be worked out. They have some young players that are going to get a chance to play. Like I said, Benj is going to get a long look. Nick Morabito is going to get a look. Robert Colacina says Vientos righty DH. He's got to play every day. He has to play every day to get at bats. I mean, how many bats is he going to get a week? I mean, that's not fair to him. He's still a young player. He's 25 years old. Let's be fair here. He has to play. So that's, to me, is concerning. And Polanco, by the way, is a switch hitter. He's not a left-handed hitter. He's a switch hitter. I would also let you know that Polanco's numbers with men's scoring position over 300 in his career. So he's another guy that hits with men's scoring position. So his numbers may not look like he's a big power hitter, but the numbers for the men on base is excellent, excellent, um, excellent. Now, meanwhile, please hit the subscribe button, like this video. Um, and if you watch on replay, leave comments in the comments section. Got to remind people that. Yeah, I mean, and Tobias Myers, I mean, they get a second pitcher out of that? Second starting pitcher? It's crazy. Crazy stuff tonight. For Mets 973 again. Saying is the biggest factor in the rotation, and I'm very interested in how Christian Scott looks coming back. Christian Scott's just go to the minor leagues to stay healthy. There's no rush to have him come back. I mean, he's had an issue with that elbow for 2 years, and prior to him getting hurt, and he should take his time coming back. Be honest with you, take your time. 21 days till pitchers and catchers. You sure about that? You sure about that? It's pretty good. It's 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now. Wow. Got a massive storm coming here. 3 weeks till pitchers and catchers. The winter's over when we get 21 days from now, by the way. By the way, now they got Jim Duquette on. One of my favorites. My favorite general managers. He got the Kyle Tucker thing wrong, didn't he? He kept talking about Cody, about the Kyle Tucker that's going to get him, this and that. Yeah, got him. He was wrong about that too. That's 973 says, "Oh, definitely Scott is going to stay in AAA, but he should be able to play in the majors again sometime this season. Well, we'll see. It's no rush. No rush. What's this? Well, this was a fun live stream. Had good news. Richard Zuckers has been 80 here for the last week. Now it's going to be in the 60s. Well, where are you from, man? Where are you living? I heard they had snow in like Florida last week or the other day. Where are you coming from? 60s. I wish it was in the 60s. Sick of this cold. It's gonna be 9 degrees on Saturday. 9 degrees. Southern California. You suck, man. Southern California. I got a friend that lives in Southern California. Shot in California. But again, please like this video and subscribe. Mets have picked up Freddy Peralta from the Brewers and Tobias Myers. And I'm going to say Toby McGuire. I know it. I'll say it several times. For infielder, outfielder Jett Williams and Brandon Sproat. Brandon Sproat could be he could be a number 3 starter for them. He could be a closer for them. Jett Williams has a very good chance to be a star. That's how good he is. Because he's got all the tools. He's a big on base guy. He puts the bat on the ball. He'll walk 100 times in a year. He's a guy I really didn't want the Mets trade. But he really doesn't have a place to play here. He's not a natural center fielder. He's kind of small. He's 5'6". Robert Colasina says, Mauricio and the Mets plans. I don't know. So I think he's out of options. So he might be moved. He could get moved. Maybe the Mets move him for bullpen help or that. But I don't know what his role is, and they can't pass him through waivers. Someone will pick him up right away. Some bad team will pick him up in a second. You know, the Rockies would pick him up. The White Sox would pick him up. Plenty of teams would pick him up in a heartbeat. I mentioned them because if he passed through waivers, and the bad teams get the first pick of a good player like him. So I don't know what his role is. I really don't. What their plans are for him, I don't know what they plan on doing with him. To be honest with you. So that is sort of a question mark with the Mets is Mauricio. I hadn't even mentioned him. Sometimes you forget about him. And I thought that what the Mets did to him wasn't right. They shouldn't have called him up if he wasn't going to play on a regular basis. And then it turned out that he had no more options left. Well, what the hell are you calling him up for? And then you can't send him down when they should have brought in the veteran player. That's the only real critique I had of Stearns' moves at the deadlines. They didn't bring a middle infielder in here. That was a veteran. Can you imagine this if this guy had like 2 years on his contract? And there's a tweet from our buddy Howie Rose. This is some turnover between the team that reported to Port St. Lucie last February and the one which will arrive next month. A fringe benefit of the Peralta deal is that any pressure that might have been on Nolan McLean to become an instant ace has now been alleviated. Like I said, that's the benefit of Peralta. That is the from John Harper, the skepper. Stearns gets his guy. Early in tenure with Brewers, he traded Adam Lind for a package that included 19-year-old Freddy Peralta, at the time a lottery ticket. A decade later, Stearns trades with Brewers for Peralta to give the Mets the top of the rotation starter they needed. They needed to make this move. It's a good move for the Mets. Again, there's nothing really to complain about. I'm sure people will complain. I'll have to post some stuff on Facebook in a little bit, but there's nothing to complain about here. This was a good move. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get word on this by tomorrow. We'll find out. I'm more interested about Tobias Myers, what they plan to do with him. Are they going to have him be in the rotation? Is he going to be a reliever? That's kind of an unknown with this move, really. I'm shocked they got a second starter out of this. Shocked. Again, hate to be a broken record, but boy, great trade. And you could trade for the Brewers too. This is the one thing about trading with your former organization is that there's trust there. So if you trust the person that you're dealing with is going to send you a player of equal value, you're going to get that. And that's what the Brewers got. They got very good prospects, and these guys are going to be players. I mean, Sproat's probably going to go in the rotation, I would think, or be in the minor leagues or in the bullpen. They'll get something out of him. And Jett Williams could be on the major league roster this year. He's not in the 40-man with the Mets, so he didn't have to go on the 40-man this year. But great trade for the Mets. Interesting to see, how this all gets rearranged, the Mets minor league system, because Williams and Sproat were top 5 prospects. I would think that Jacob Reamer is going to go up. He'll be the Mets' best infielder. And then A.J. Ewan and Ryan Clifford. Ryan Clifford was the 5th best prospect at first base. The 5th best first base prospect according to MLB.com. I was going to do a video on Mitch Void tonight, but obviously with the trade, I can't do that. I'll have that for some time in the next couple of days. I did a video on Jonathan Santucci for the Prospect Hut. That one, I have not edited that yet. From Dumpling 02, Myers is a dog. He's really broken out and has a ton of control left. I think that he's really flying under the radar right now. Absolutely. He's going to fly under the radar. Now Salicot's screaming on the TV Spaz, calm down. Calm down, Spaz. Calm down. So I'm going to end the live stream here. I want to thank everybody for coming by at such short notice. It was a great live stream. It was a great trade. I'm glad I was able to do the live stream and report the not that I'm a reporter, but report the trade to you firsthand, especially if you're not on X. And I would mention, if you're on X, you don't have to follow me on X. It's not a big deal to me. I do spend money on X. I get the check mark, but that account doesn't go anywhere. But I'm able to do certain things there. But this was a big night. I'm glad to share this with you, and it's a big trade. This will settle a lot of people down because the way people have been acting this off season is just beyond the pale. And hopefully we'll get some more moves. We'll get some smaller moves. We'll see if they bring in another bat. They can use another bat. I always say that anyway. A guy like Austin Hayes could certainly help out. I know they're talking about him, but we'll see. If they bring him in here, I would think that Vientos is probably out of here. Vientos and Mauricio could be in trouble because the Mets have so many infielders and have needs. And Stearns, like you said earlier today, they're open for anything. They're willing to do anything at this rate. So thanks for coming by. Of course, please hit the subscribe button before you go. More importantly, thank you for watching. Have a good night. Let's go, Mets, and I'll see you later.